All right, everyone. I've got Corey Overtime here on the podcast. I really appreciate his time and popping on here on the podcast to chat with me for a little bit. Corey is awesome, just overall individual. He's got a family. He's a fighter in the MMA. He also is a big hunter. He loves getting outdoors as much as possible. So I'm excited to share this with you guys today. But thanks, Corey, for being on. Who are you in a nutshell? I guess if you could, put yourself in a nutshell. I don't know if there's one big enough, but what would you want to say to the audience?
Like I said, I'm a hunter who fights for a living. You know what I mean? Everybody knows me from fighting, but I'd rather be known as a hunter because hunting is something I'll probably do and can do for the rest of my life. As for fighting, the window is just so short. So I'm using the fighting to get my name out there now in the hunting industry and let people know I'm more than just a fighter, but people know me as fighting. Not many people know about the Instagram and the YouTube for outdoors, but I'm doing everything I can to get that to catch up with the fighting.
There you go. No, I appreciate that. That's not a lot of people understand martial arts and the dedication and the time that it takes to put into that. Same thing with hunting. Some people, most people look at tree stand hunters and they're like, man, all you do is sit in a tree and every once in a while a deer walks by and you pop one. But both of those, and then on top of that, having a family. So all of those things take time in and of themselves, let alone those three things being, all part of your life. I mean, that's kind of a big deal. So I guess let's start off with, how did you get involved with the outdoors and hunting and in general? Did you grow up that way? Were you like me, an adult onset hunter? How did that come into your life?
I mean, hunting has always been like a part of my family, the outdoors period. My father's grandfather showed him like rabbit hunting and whatnot. So we grew up since we were kids. We all had beagles. Grew up raising beagles and horses, and we would take the beagles out every Saturday during the hunting season to chase rabbits up and down the train tracks or in a random fields or whatever, shooting rabbits. And then when I was like 12 or 13, we went to this place called Northwest Mall where we used to go eat Chinese food. There was an archery shop there. I mean, my dad was sitting outside the window of the 3D shot, like when the target's going up and going down and watching guys shoot the bow. That's something we had never seen. It was like so interesting. We went in and we watched it for probably like an hour, hour and a half. And the next day, my dad came home with a Matthews bow. And then he took me back like 2 days later and got me a little Browning compound bow. And we was doing it just for 3D. And then he had bought a climber. And I remember I had still never hunted, didn't know what the climber was for. And I was telling one of my teammates when I was like 15, 16, because I had a license. But so yeah, I'm going to the range after this to go shoot my bow. They go, oh, you getting ready for hunting season? I'm like, hunting season? Yeah, you can hunt with a bow. And yeah, and that's my next day. I went and I with him in the morning before school. Took my dad's climber out. Didn't get in the tree, get up in the tree because I didn't know what I was doing. And since then I don't think I rabbit hunted since. I've been just deer hunting and hog hunting. I do everything as I can with my bow.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So primarily bow hunter. Now you're a big guy. How tall are you?
6'3".
Yeah. So you're a big guy. So what's your draw length?
32 and a half.
That's pretty impressive. That's I had to shoot a 30-inch bow, or a 30-inch draw bow this weekend because I was borrowing someone's bow and we couldn't adjust it. We didn't have the star bits to adjust it. So that was interesting. That's 2 inches longer than my natural draw length. So I was like all stretched out and everything. So I can only imagine, another 2.5 inches. That's pretty crazy. Do you have to get custom arrows made as well?
No, so all the arrows I use Killing Sticks. I'm partnered with Killing Stick, this company in Canada, and the arrows come 32 inches already. So I literally cut it just like an inch off, and they outserts are like an inch and a half. So I cut like an inch or inch and a half off. It depends on the axle where it fit, and I just cut off a little bit and got that outsert to where it's just barely not hitting my drop away, and I'm good.
That's awesome. That's pretty cool, man. So you pretty much shoot Lincoln logs and it's still flying out 300 feet per second.
Yeah, I pretty much get a pass through every time.
That's amazing. That's awesome. So so you grew up, shooting a bow. You grew up hunting, and then of course, your friends told you could go out and shoot things with a bow, and you've been hooked ever since. has it always been whitetail? Is there anything else that maybe you're wanting to pursue, or is there something about whitetail that's got you hooked on whitetails?
I mean, whitetail is the thing I can get to the most easiest, I guess, not most easy, but the easiest I can get to is more common. Like where no matter where I go, usually where I travel, I can get into the woods and get a whitetail. So when I travel, it's like two things about the guy, Dwayne Finley, is an MMA journalist. He always calls him the backpack kid. Because if you see me traveling, I always got a backpack with training gear ready to go. And now, like since I really, really got into hunting, is my backpack, my training gear, and I always got my bow. Like if I'm on my truck, I got one of my bows in the back seat of my truck at all times, and a training bag. When I fly, I have a case I try to check in. If I have enough space and time, I'll load the bow and take it with me, just in case. It's in a hotel or wherever I am, but if there's an opportunity to get to a range or go somewhere and shoot and hunt, I'll go buy a tag over the counter and get out. So yeah, I just mostly bow hunt. I like taking my bow, and the whitetail is everywhere I go. It's usually whitetail or blacktail or something over the counter, except for
Mhm.
Iowa or Kansas. Like something I can go over the counter and go get. As for elk, it's like the peak of elk hunting is always hard to get or draw a tag to a good spot. And I'm always in fight camp. Like when I buy a tag, I miss it because I'm in fight camp.
Mhm.
Whitetail is just one of those things. I can always go somewhere and get an over counter tag and get after them, or a muley or something. So that's why whitetail is probably my favorite.
No, that makes sense. That definitely makes sense, especially like we were saying there at the beginning about how, family and fighting, those things, they take up a lot of time in and of themselves separately. And then you add hunting into that. I mean, it's no wonder why they call you overtime. You've picked some very time specific hobbies that have now turned into career and passions for you. That's pretty awesome, man. So I guess with the outdoors, you grew up again hunting and bow hunting, but what is it that draws you out there, even if you don't see deer consistently? What is it that gets you out there and keeps taking you back out there, that is so attractive to you?
Just the open air, man. The nature is therapy for me. There's so much noise in the world. You drive and people blowing a horn and the bad exhaust and the kids at home crying and your wife wanting you to do a bunch of stuff. And like I said, I've been working on this building I have on my property every day. Just it's always something that's got your mind going. But when you in the outdoors, it's nothing.
Hmm.
Nothing but space and opportunity. Literally, another opportunity for that deer to come, and nothing but space just to breathe fresh air. You never know what's going to come through. If I'm hunting urban, somebody might walk through wearing a silly outfit, or a homeless guy comes creeping through, or you hear that the squirrels hit the leaves, and you think of the deer. It's just my breath of fresh air, literally. Like today, I went and looked at two properties, the whitetail properties, and the guy was asking me, I was like, oh, well, it was 155 acre and 90 acres. If you don't mind walking, all I'm doing, like, no, I would love to walk here because I haven't been in the woods at all this week. It's been my therapy. The longer I'm out here, the happier I'm gonna go home. So let's walk every bit of it. And we just out there in the rain. We just was marching away and just being out there with the rain and the up and down and crossing creeks and everything. Like, oh, this is terrible. It was like, man, this is just amazing. Like, it's just a breath of fresh air. Like everything else that's been going on in my life after the loss of my last fight, whatever, none of it matters when I'm out there. It's like talking to a therapist without saying anything.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you on that, man. It's different getting out there where you're able to get away from the noise, the lights, the crying, the people and things that need your attention, and you're able to sit out there and just kind of even meditate in a way, get work yourself through all the things that are going on in your life, and you're able to, like you were saying, take a breath of fresh air literally while you're out there. But that's awesome, man. So, um, with you having so many things going on and you're constantly, go, 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 what, I guess, with mixed martial arts, where did that start? Did you start, like, I know a lot of people that start wrestling in, junior high or even before that, and that transitions into MMA. Where did your journey start with mixed martial arts?
I started wrestling in third grade. So my brother was a freshman in high school when he started. And I want to do everything my brother did. So since he started, I did it. And It wasn't until like later on in my life I really got serious with it. Probably like my junior year in high school, I finally got serious. And then college, when I really met the guy, I'm actually the reason I moved to Indiana to come out here and work with him as a college coach. He really like molded me into the athlete and the hardworking person I am, the overtime everybody sees. And then with that attitude of what I did through college, Ben Askren ended up being a coach of mine my senior year. At the time, he was the Bellator champion, and after wrestling, I took second in nationals, and he brought me to his MMA gym, and that was it. Never wrestled again. After that, it was fighting. And here I am.
That's awesome, man. So with that being said, you started wrestling in and of itself. That's a tough sport. I didn't do it myself. I've got my son into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Definitely not the same as wrestling. When he gets older and he's in junior high, I'll probably put him in, or even before that, I'll get him in some wrestling clubs around here because it's so, I guess, disciplined. It adds another level of discipline to your life. It takes a lot of skill to be able to cut weight or to train day in and day out. The conditioning that wrestlers do, I mean, it's just on a whole nother level. And then you took that up even another notch and went to this MMA gym and started training after you've won quite a few times. You went to this MMA gym and started training there. Now, why did you want to take that up a notch? Like, you have this consistent theme in your life where you're like, okay, I want to start with a bow. Now I'm a bow hunter. I absolutely love bow hunting. And then you start wrestling because of your older brother, but then you take that up a notch, you start winning, right? And then on top of that, you go and you take it into MMA so that you create a career out of that. What is it that made you want to continue down that path rather than just saying, oh, I'm good, I've won some national titles, I'm good to go?
I actually didn't want to fight, to be honest. Been asking. Like I said, when he got me to the MMA gym, he had just sent me the address. He didn't say me the name of the gym. He said, meet me here. And I thought I was training for the Junior Olympics at the time. And since him being an Olympic wrestler, I figured he could help me out. And just happened to be an MMA gym. And I actually didn't try it the first day. When I came back and tried it, I happened to be good at it. And in my mind, it was like, I'm just going to do it as a hobby, something to say I've done. I had an MMA fight or two, whatever, and then go back into coaching college wrestling and doing what I really wanted to do. And I was just, after the first one, like, yo, you got to fight again, right? You're going to fight again. And I got out in 13 seconds. And then after the second fight, it was another down and be like, yo, you going to keep doing this, right? Like, in my mind, I just want to do 2 fights until I did it. And I remember going back at the time I was coaching college wrestling. I remember going back to a dorm room. I was staying in the dorms and just talking to myself in the mirror and with the lights off saying, yo, we're really going to do this, or are we going to just do it as a hobby? Like, if we're going to be serious about this, I thought about, like, I could get to where I really want to be in life, like with more money, financial freedom and stuff. If I take this serious and get really good as I can do this. And I made up my mind then, like, all right, well, everybody's swear I'm so good at it. If I'm not good, I'm going to go ahead and give it an opportunity and see what comes of it. We're going to give it everything we got until we realize it ain't for us and we'll walk away. And it just came to be. It was really something for me. Everything people were saying, people say it all the time, like, yo, you could be in the UFC in 3 fights. I had 3 different coaches tell me that. You could be in the UFC in 3 fights. And I thought they were just talking trash. But in 3 fights, I was on the Ultimate Fighter. And I ended up winning that. I was in the UFC. So I guess for the thing to keep giving me going is success, You always want to just, like after I killed those big deer in Kansas, I was telling my wife, like, I think it's definitely time I go elk hunting. She's like, what do you mean? Well, usually, like, when I'm shooting deer, even when I shoot a doe or a fawn, like, I shake uncontrollably. It's like something I can't control. It's just the fact of shooting. But when I shot the deer before I shot the buck in Jersey, I shook a little bit still. When I shot that big buck, and as big as that buck was, I didn't shake like I usually shake. Like, I was excited, but I wasn't, like, shaking uncontrollably. I think it's my body telling it's time to go to the next level. It's like, I gotta do something else more exciting. It's like that, chasing the high. An addict. They become an addict because their first high is never the same. The second high is not like the first. The third is not like the first. And you're doing everything you can, so you start going more and more and more, and that's when people overdose, or they find a new drug. And I feel like that's kind of like what it is for me. Like wrestling, yeah, I fell short. I took second. I didn't win the nationals. I could have kept going, and then fighting was just that new drug. It was a new high, that same exciting, exhilarating feeling you get when I step in that cage or on the mat with one person. I'm literally just dominating. And it's not just wrestling. I'm actually punching somebody, and like there's nothing he can say. Like, oh, we fight, I can beat you. And now we fighting, and it shows you can't beat me. And it was
Hmm.
just that new exhilarating thing. And I think just the fact is just to get you to be the best in that. It's like
Yeah.
going right now. I was telling my wife after the last fight, I fought for the title last week and I fell short. And I told her, like, I can see why guys, like older guys, stay in this sport for so long, like way past they due date because or they expiration date is because when you have a fight like that and you see you were so close, no matter how old you are, you feel like if I go in there, I could do it better. And you just stay in as long as you can to get back to that title fight. And you get the opportunity, you lose again by another split decision. If something happened, like, no, I gotta get it. You gotta get to that next high. And I feel like that's what got me to the point I am now was I had to find something that could reach that same adrenaline rush I had every morning, stepping on the mat, getting off the mat, on the bus to a tournament, weigh in a tournament, to the time I step on the mat at a tournament. I had to get that same feeling of something like it was fresh and I was fighting. It's every fight, it's that same thing. It's like nervousness. Every time I get in there, just don't know what's gonna happen. The excitement.
That's awesome, man. No, that's really cool. So just kind of to backtrack here a little bit because I really like your story, man. I really do. I love what you've done, what you've accomplished. And that's why I wanted you to come on here to share it with other people because I love when there's athletes that are as accomplished as you are also in love with the outdoors. And it seems to be for this very similar reasons that it's that breath of fresh air where you can take a step back, where you can turn off the noise, but also you're chasing that high. And it's the same reason why people keep going back for elk or whatever it is, even though you may not get the animal that hunt, you're like, I'm already ready for next year. I'm ready. I'm chasing it. Right. And so when so you were coaching at that point, when you stepped on the MMA or in the MMA gym, you were coaching college wrestling, correct?
When I first started training, I wasn't, but what I started in March and I took off to coach in June or July.
Okay.
So, but before I had a fight, I was coaching. So by the time I fought, I was in my second year of coaching, and it was just like, all right, this is it. I got to pursue this.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So you were coaching college wrestling and then you went in and you started training for, well, I guess you started training for MMA and then you went to college coaching, which was at the time kind of your dream. Like that's what you were wanting to pursue, correct?
That was a dream job. When I graduated college, I wanted to be a world champion wrestling coach. I wanted to coach national champs. That's all I wanted to do.
That's awesome. Was there a specific type of wrestling that you preferred? Was it freestyle? Was it Greco? What was
Just
the
college wrestling. I just love the fact that like you don't get paid much, but the reward that these kids would give you, and that was the biggest thing. And it's crazy because I made a deal with my heavyweight that year as a heavyweight coach. Like if you win this national tournament, nobody knows this yet, but if you win national tournament, I'm done coaching. I'm gonna go chase the UFC goal. You win your nationals, and I'm gonna go get mine. And he won, and he came up to me and said, "All right, coach, now it's your turn. Thank you for everything." And then the ironic thing about it, I haven't seen that kid since 2014 when he won nationals. When he showed up at my fight, the title fight, he happened to be there. He came to the
That's
hotel and
amazing.
called me after the fight. So like that kind of touched me. The fact that I didn't fulfill my end of the goal, but I did get to that point where I told him like, "You get yours, I'm gonna go get mine."
Mhm.
And for him to be there, the only fight he's ever seen of mine, he was at the World Championship fight. So that was kind of dope.
That is amazing. So you obviously impacted this young man's life to the point where he remembered you and he wanted to come back and support you in the same way that you showed support for him. That's awesome. So you were pursuing one passion and then something else popped up. You went all in the MMA. Now, just for people that don't understand the time, dedication, the training that it takes for MMA, like it's cool to watch the UFC, it's cool to watch, Bellator and just to put it up on the screen. I mean, some people get really upset about the fights where there's a lot of jujitsu or wrestling going on. Whereas for me, I don't have a ton of training, but I know enough to understand how technical it is. And that even though you may not be moving or throwing punches, there's a lot going through your mind, through your opponent's mind, and just little slight motions that are happening there on the mat. What's your favorite style of, I mean, do you prefer to be on your feet? Do you prefer to be on the ground? Wrestling? Have you picked up maybe like jujitsu better? Is there something that maybe you've picked up that you prefer as far as the style?
My go-to is always gonna be wrestling. You know, everybody know, even to this day in the UFC, nobody's breaking my takedown record my takedown record at 205 pounds. That was me. I was a takedown master. You know, to be honest, I have 4 fights or 5 fights in Bellator now, and I probably have. I'm close to the top of the 205 takedowns there. It's just the last fight was the only fight I didn't get a takedown when I shot a bunch. And he worked on his defense really well. But I can do just about everything. I'm good at everything, but I'm great at wrestling. And that's always going to be my go-to. Like I can go in there and fall in love with my hands or fall in love with a kick and go against a guy that was a professional boxer or a professional kickboxer, and it cost me. But if I go in there and wrestle, I don't have to worry about anybody out wrestling me. I just know that'll never happen. I'm not gonna say never, but I know the likelihood of that happening is very small, just because I feel I am the best MMA wrestler in the game.
Yep. No, that's amazing, man. So you've stayed at that weight class pretty much your entire career.
I mean, I was heavyweight before I got into UFC, but yeah, after I got to UFC, I went light heavyweight. I've been there the whole time.
Man, light heavyweights that's probably one of my favorite weight classes to watch, because there's this nasty combination of speed and power. Like heavyweights, there's a lot of power behind it, but when you get into that light heavyweight or the weight class just below that, remind me what that one's called.
Middleweight.
Yeah, so between those two, they're my favorite weight classes to watch, just for that very reason. There's a ton of speed and a ton of power going into those moves, everything that you guys are doing in the ring. So just, I guess, for you, is it a pursuit of that, the win that gets you coming back? Do you enjoy the training? Is it a mix of both? Walk me through that, I guess, because there's some brutal training that you guys go through. How do you get through? I guess the better question would be, how do you get through that brutal training on a day-to-day basis as you're going through fight camp, and even before that, just prepping for a fight?
I mean, just knowing why you're doing it. You know what I mean? If you lose focus on why you're doing it, it's those guys they just start skipping practice because they don't want to beat their body up. Oh, I'm hurt. I'm sore. I'm not gonna go. I don't feel well today. Like I'm back to coaching college wrestling again. That was my first year back in the college room. One of my guys, they're like, "Oh, I feel like crap, coach. I don't really want to be here." So that's good. I mean, you can get the most out of the day then. Look at like what? Like the days you don't want to be here are the days you're gonna get the most out of it. When you come back and you feel great, you're gonna feel phenomenal because you did this already when you feel like crap. He looked at me with a long face, like, let's go, pick it up, change your energy, let's go. He was so confused, but that's it. In camps, when I'm beat up, my back hurt, my shoulders hurt, my knee hurt, whatever it is, I can sit at home all day and just have my ice and rest all day. There is a time where you need to rest because you'll get hurt. But those days you don't feel like going are the days I know I need it the most. It's like, that's the day I'm going and I have to focus. I'm going to really pay attention to the detail. I can't get away with just feeling good and performing good and just being athletic and fast and strong. Like I feel like crap, so I'm gonna be super slow today. So everything had to be very technical. I'm going against Rex. I'm going against Carl. I'm going against somebody super strong, Leon. These guys. So it's like I can't just out scramble these guys. I have to worry about my technique, and that is what keep you going. It's like these are the days I need, because come fight time, all of that gonna add up. Like my coach always said, every time you work out, you put a quarter in the jar. And by the time you get to the fight, or one day they make every fighter dump out their jar, your jar should overflow everybody's. Because you never took any days off and you did more than everybody else, even when you feel like you didn't want to go. And that's just the mindset. It's like when you beat up and you wake, you're struggling out of bed, like, oh, I get up that morning, like, oh, I'm gonna get up. And I sit up and look at my phone. I was like, well, it's that time. My alarm says time to be great. It reads it goes, time to be great. Like, all right, it's that time. Let's get up. Let's go. Let's go. So it ain't gonna last so long. Tomorrow we won't be as sore. Tomorrow we might not be as tired, but let's get over it today and we'll worry about tomorrow. Just keep doing it to be the best.
Yeah, no, I like that mindset, man. So, just taking it one day at a time, that's simplifying it. So you're not overthinking, you're not thinking 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks ahead, maybe when you're setting goals, but in the moment you're living there, you're being present. I think that's so key. And for people that are high achievers like yourself, I've noticed that that's a consistent theme, that you don't worry about the future. You plan for it, you don't worry about it, and you're living in the moment. You're making sure that you're putting those investments in that quarter into the jar every single day, and maybe even more than that every single day, so you can make sure you overflow when it is time to perform. That's pretty awesome. love that idea and that analogy. So for what would be your reason why? I mean, you've mentioned you obviously want to win, you want to be the greatest, right? But what is that to you? I mean, what is your reason for living in the moment and putting those investments in every single day, whether it be, again, in your family, hunting, or in fighting?
I mean, before I had a family, it was just to be successful. You know what I mean, one of the favorite songs I sliced to was Trey Songz. I just gotta be successful. That was the lyrics. I just gotta be successful. Then when I had a family, it all changed. It was more than just being successful. It was living a life and laying out, they say legacy, you know, people call legacy by titles and wins and all that. My legacy is to be something my kids can look back at one day. I tell all the time. Everything I do, buying land, winning, fighting, training, working all day, being overtime in a whole is for my kids. So one day when they get older, they're not going to be entitled and expect anything to be given to them. They know, okay, well, I've seen my dad do it, so it's like, it's not going to be a chore or somebody, oh, you got to do this. Like, okay, I've been doing it with my dad my whole life. My dad did the same thing. I understand. That's how life works. And then on top of that, when they can look back and say, like, people going to bring their father's name up, even if they don't understand what their father did, if people like, yo, your dad was like one of the hardest working guys I ever known. Your dad was one of the hard, like, long after I'm gone, man, I used to be in the gym with your dad, and just watching him train was just something motivating. And it's like, I had a moment of this with one of the first guys I trained with in Springfield, Illinois, in 2013 when I first got to Lincoln, or 2012 when I got to Lincoln. He's the ref now. And I was commentating at a fight, and one of my actual athletes was fighting on that card. One of my wrestlers was fighting on that card. We was talking. And the ref came up and said, man, y'all have no clue. I remember when this guy came to the gym in 2012, the whole gym said, this dude, the way he worked, we knew he was going to be something. We said it, like, everybody sat back and watched him work and said, that kid, this is his first day in here, and he's going to be the one to make it out of everybody. And just to sit there and hear him say that and see my athlete's face, like, dang, that's crazy, coach. And it's just like, that's what I want for my kids one day. They see one of my athletes who I love and watch grow now to one day see my kids really watch and grow into it. And like I said, one day when I'm long gone, that'll be something they'll bump into something like, oh, you Corey Anderson's son? Oh man, your dad was this is no, you Corey Anderson's daughter? Oh, so your dad was like one of the nicest, kindest, hardworking guys. I was like, it was nothing he couldn't do. It's just so that's what I do everything I do for, you know. So one day my kids can look back, whether we share stories or somebody sharing a story with them about me. It'll be something they can walk around with a smile on my face, like, man, that's my dad they talking about. So that's why I do everything I do now.
Awesome. That's a great reason, man. I really do respect that, because that's something that, you know, and you can hear it in your voice, you can see it in your face when you talk about just that idea of them hearing that about you as their dad. You know, that's a huge thing when you become a dad. You know, you want your kids to learn the good work ethic. You don't want them to be spoiled. You don't want them to be entitled. Even if you are as successful as you are, you don't want to just give them handouts. You want them to learn that you know, that hardship of overcoming obstacles and getting what they want and going after it. And then of course having that you know, just the work ethic. And so I think that's great. And it's cool because, you know, I was telling people I was going to be having you on the podcast, and they're like, oh yeah, overtime. Yeah, he's just, you know, and they were just talking about how they love your fight style, but they also love what you post on social media, and how oriented you are towards not just fighting. You're not just a fighter. You know, you enjoy the family aspect of it too, and getting in the outdoors. So you're making it happen, man. That legacy's happening. Whatever you want to call it. I know you were saying legacy or the whatever other word you want to use for it, but you are making that happen. And I think that's awesome. That's a big accomplishment. So I do want to ask, just out of curiosity for me, being such a high level fighter, how do you turn it off when you get home? How do you turn it off when, you know, when you're not in the ring or in the cage, or you're not on the mat, or you're not, you know, just training in general or in the fight? Like how do you do that? How do you turn that off?
You don't. You just put energy into something else. Like I said, this is other than my in-laws being here, if my family wasn't here, I'll be out in the shop. I've been in the shop all week from 7 a.m. to midnight, 1 o'clock, and wake up and do it again. And then I also take a break from doing that to go coach from 3:45 to 6. But once I come back, I eat dinner, spend 10 minutes with my kids, I'm back out doing something. That's why they call me overtime. It drive my wife crazy because even after the fight, right after the fight, I went back home, got my hunting stuff out, went to the tree stand next day. Like, are you kidding me? You just got back. Like, yeah. I hunted 2 days I was in Jersey, loaded the truck, the trailer, got in the truck, drove 10.5 hours, got here, went to a hunting property the next morning. She's like, are you kidding me? Went hunting again next morning, then packed up, went to Kansas. Like, cool. Like, you just fought. You did camp. Sit still. Like, I can't. That's just not how I can't sit still. If I sit still, I'm gonna fall asleep. And the time I'm sleeping, I could have been getting something done. It's like I'm running at 100 miles an hour all day long. And it's like the same energy I put into my training to be the best, I do in everything. Like I have the YouTube channel. I don't have a producer. I don't have an editor. I do it all myself. Right here in the same spot I'm at, I'll be in here many nights. If nothing to do outside, I'm editing content. And I'm gonna do it until I'm gonna be the best at it. And that's just like a Kobe Bryant thing. Kobe Bryant wouldn't do anything just to do it. He's gonna be the best. It's the Mamba mentality. And that's just everything I do. Shooting my bow, hunting. I'm constantly asking questions. My wife is a Digiscoping, along with custom gear. So whenever we get back home and I'm around Andre or Cody or even her dad, Pete, I'm asking questions, like picking the brains of the greats of what they did. How can I get there? If I'm around GSP, Frankie Yeager, Kamar Usman, different champions MMA, same thing. I'm asking questions. I'm on the road. I'm listening to the Joe Rogan podcast with different champions, picking their brains, studying film. It's like, it's hard to turn it off, because when you turn it off, when I turn it off, there's not much else. I mean, I can't say there's much else in my life, but I don't know how to do anything mediocre. If I'm gonna do anything, I'm gonna do it 100%. I've done photo shoots before where they try to spray me down with water to make it look like I sweat, and I just start working on hard. Like, yo, it's a shoot. You don't have to do it. Like, I can't just fake the funk for the picture. I gotta give you the real thing. I'm actually live, do tips. I'm gonna do real sprints and everything. Like, yo, you can wear yourself out. Like, that's okay. I'll worry about that later. We're gonna make these pictures look as real as possible. Like, I just can't go through the motions or anything. So you don't turn it off. You just learn how to take that same energy and put it into another obstacle, another goal, or something else that you're doing. And I don't want to turn it off. Like, again, it's another one thing I want my kids to see. It's like, I feel bad at times because I don't get to spend as much time with my kids as I could with the career I had. But at the same time, my kids will come outside, well, whatever I'm doing, I'm working in the building, working on my truck, working on a motorcycle, fixing something, building my gym, building my bow shop. And they sit there and they can watch me do it and just know at the end of the day, when it's their turn, like, I want to get my dad to be successful. I mean, that's where I got it from. My father's a workaholic. I don't do what he do, but I work at what I do the same way he does. It's just for him to make it to where he is. He's a successful business owner. He never stopped. And I see other people around him. He was the youngest of 10. And his family ain't successful. That's because they all sitting around. I mean, they all living, they doing well, but they don't have their own businesses because they didn't work like he worked. So I want to be like my dad, or I want to be like this. I want to be successful. So we're just gonna work at everything. There's no time to sit still.
That's amazing. Yeah, no, I definitely understand that. Just always taking the energy and putting it elsewhere, not necessarily turning it off. I think that's a great thing for people to understand as well. Cause I personally do wonder about that, with fighters and being able to shut off that aggression and shut off that energy level. But it makes more sense just channeling it, like basically shutting off channeling it into training and shutting it in or pushing it towards something else. Whether it be working on your property or with your family, putting it all in on the stuff that you're working on at that time, or even into hunting. So I think that's a great answer. I think that's awesome. Great mindset to have. So what, I guess, with your, I guess, outside of training, what are your career aspirations? You're back at coaching in college, which is, again, amazing. Is that something that you're wanting to move towards your career, or is there something else that you're kind of aiming for?
I mean, I got 3 goals and 3 plans. I plan on doing them all. Be a successful college wrestling coach, opening my own gym, and get in the outdoors industry and be known in the outdoors industry like I was known in fighting. I'm gonna start slow. I started from the bottom. Nobody to put my name out there. I just started a YouTube channel, started filming, and it's slowly but surely but growing. But people are growing. They started to know, and I'm gonna keep just chipping away until that grows. Same thing is gonna go with the coaching. Like right now, they just now realizing Corey Anderson's back into coaching. I had one kid when I was coaching this weekend. He was wrestling one of my kids, and he turned around and looked at me in the corner, and he double shook. And I was trying to look at his coach, like, "Yo, that's Coriolis." And I was like, "Yo, pay attention. Don't worry about me." But eventually, everybody gonna know, like, "Dang, Coriolis is out here. He's serious." Like I told my kid the other day, I came back and I turned down a salary because I still have dedications for fighting, but I love coaching. I'm gonna do everything I can to give these kids my attention like a full-time coach and don't take any of the money because I'm just gonna show you guys how serious I am. I'm that dedicated. The same thing go and open my gym. It'll be the same thing. I'll find a way to spend time in the gym. My wife ran 2 MMA gyms before, so she can help go to coach and then go hunt or hunt in the morning, go to the gym, go coach. But I'm gonna do all three. And I'm pretty sure I'm gonna do them successfully because that's just my mindset. I just won't accept failure. Failure only comes when you stop. And I don't plan on quitting no time. So
That's amazing. Yeah, no, that's really cool, man. I love the idea of you having a gym and, you know, looking at it from a younger child's perspective or a young man's perspective, and that kid taking that double take. I mean, that just goes to show they understand who you are, and that's got to be a big impact, and that's got to make them want to listen to you even more as you're training them. Yeah, you can imagine, or you were in that situation where you had some champions that were pulling you towards them and like inviting you kind of in, not really tricking you, but kind of tricking you into MMA, you know, when you thought he was helping you out with wrestling and he brought you into the MMA gym. He knew your potential. And you're doing the same thing with these kids. You're just returning that back to them. I think that's amazing. So then the idea of, you know, so you got coaching, you got wanting to be in the outdoors industry and have a name for yourself, which you obviously do. You, I guess, shifting back over towards your hunts this year, you went out to Kansas, you killed a stud of a buck. Congratulations on that. That's a big deal. I have yet to kill a whitetail, but that whitetail looked as big as some of the muleys that we have out here. Where did you end up going for that? Oh, I guess we said Kansas, but you had a buck and a doe tag. Did you have a certain buck in mind? I know some people have target bucks in mind, or how did that work out?
no, so I went out there. White Shell Properties is one of my sponsors for fighting. Pete Alfano, he's a big MMA fan, and he invited me out a while ago. He invited me and T-Bone out together, and we all know what happened with T-Bone and everything going on with his legs. So he just wasn't ready to start traveling yet. So I went out there on my own, and he told me like, "Yo, we got a bunch of shooter bucks out here," and they took me to a spot. It was the first time this spot was ever sat in. He said, "We got cameras over there. We pulled the cameras a few times. Some big shooter bucks been in. Nobody's been there yet. You can go ahead and pick whichever one. As long as I had a cameraman who actually worked for Whitetail Property, so he knew what was like on the hit list and what wasn't." And like he told, like he said, "Yo, I haven't had to sit here with this many deer ever because never been touched. It was a spot that haven't been hunted, and the deer was just coming through just because it was unpressured. It was in the middle of thick stuff. They just cruising through a ton of does. You see a buck come chasing a doe, be a small buck, and another buck bigger than him would come, and a big monster buck would come in. The first day, I was being picky. You know, I'll say that I have 4 or 5 different shooters come out. Like, I'll wait for another one. It looked like, are you crazy? Like, this is a big deer, but it was my first day there, and I heard they had some big deer in Kansas. I just kind of wanted to see what all would come. I told myself the next day, like, if I was in Jersey, that first little small buck that came out would have been shot. Like I've always can't remember what hunter said it, but he said, if you were shooting on your last day, don't pass up on it on your first day. Like, you know what? That's the monster. The first big one that comes out, I'm shooting. But just so happened, the one big one came in, and you heard another one come in blowing, ready to fight, and then he came in and pushed that one off. Another big one came in to push him, and it happened to be the one I shot, like all within 15, 20 minutes. So it
That's
worked out
awesome.
perfect. Like I didn't have to wait, and I got to shoot the first one, well, one of the first ones that came in.
That's amazing. So you got to watch them, you know, in their rut action while they were fighting. They were kind of going after each other. That's always fun to watch, you know, seeing them come in all puffed up and like you were saying, they're blowing and getting after each other. That gets my heart pumping watching mule deer and elk do that as well. So you got, I mean, you're sitting up there, you passed the first day, which makes sense. I mean, you had a couple days to hunt, so and you knew these deer were coming in consistently. I I wouldn't have gotten upset for you passing those deer, to be honest with you, because I get the fact that you wanted to be out there as much as possible with how little you're able to be out there based on fight camp and everything else going on. So you're sitting out there, you're watching these bucks pass. Do you usually get the shakes before or after you shoot?
Like I get nervous. I can tell like usually I'm getting set up to draw. It's like I start thinking about the shots, like draw back, anchor, nose to the string, set up the pin. But it's like when I'm going to get my release on, I start fumbling with stuff. It's like that's what I have. Like trying to get my release hook. Like why can I not? No, I'm like oh my god. And then I can't keep the arrow. Like the arrow like fall off the wrist. Like yo, what is going on? Once I get up and draw, it's like okay. So there's been times like I've been rushing and I close the wrong eye. Like why can't I see my peep? It's like what is going on? But this time I didn't have the wrong eye. I just was struggling to get the D loop hook. I was like, I can't get it. But I ended up getting it in time before he got out of there.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Did he so you're able to watch him fight? You had that fun, and then so you shot him, and then did you get down immediately, or did you have to wait a little bit and then go track him?
But we were in a blind, and like I said, it was probably well, they started coming in within like 45 minutes after we got in there.
Wow.
So we had plenty of time to sit. Like even if I had already killed both my deer, I was gonna sit until as long as I could just to watch the deer come through. But like after we got the buck, I looked at the cameraman like, should we sit and get the doe? Like, yeah, we're gonna wait for the doe to come in. Nice doe. And actually, it took me a lot longer to get the doe than it did to get the buck because there was a bunch of different does coming through cruising with their smaller fawns. But like this one spike that we think something's wrong with. Because even when we got in there, we bumped him up, and he just stood there and watched us get into the blind, and he came back. And he just kept sitting there and watching. Every time a deer would come, he'd like start chasing the little does and was scaring them. So every time a doe would come, like, I'm about to shoot. I go to draw, that spike would come out of nowhere and start chasing them off. So he did that for like 45, 50 minutes. Every time a doe come in, he would come out of nowhere and chase the deer off. Like, yo, where is he coming from? Like, get him out of here. Like, I'm about to shoot him. And yeah, eventually he was going chasing one, and another one came in behind when he ran. I was finally able to get my shot on her.
That's awesome. So whitetail properties. I've seen some of their stuff. Do they sell properties? Is it something that, they guide on their properties? Do they do a little mix of both?
So the owner I know is Pete. It's multiple owners. Pete, he started, I know he was making something he started from what the conversation I get with him, like he started originally. They sell properties. So like today I said I was out looking through properties with those guys. Whitetail properties, like a realtor, they sell properties with houses, they sell just houses or just land, farmland, whatever. But also they have, like in Kansas where we were at, it was a big, what's it called? Southern Fly Outfitter or something. It's like an outfit. They don't guide you, they just take you to a spot, drop you off, and you stay in their lodge. You pay to go hunt. Obviously I didn't pay, it was like a sponsored thing, part of the sponsorship. But yeah, the day I left, it was a group of people that come in. Just they say people come in all the time, year round. We in camp or in deer camp, it's loaded. They do bird hunts, turkey hunts, do all kinds of different hunts. So it's like pretty action packed year round, whatever's in season. So they do pretty much everything.
That's awesome. So they basically they maintain the property, they do the food plots, they do the they put the cameras out, and they maintain it as a hunting property pretty much.
Yeah, there are places that they use for outfits. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. No, that makes sense. That's cool. Yeah, I'll have to look into their stuff a little bit more. I'm definitely looking at getting into some whitetail hunting here in the next couple of years, and we'll see how that goes. But I'd definitely be interested in that. So I'll have to look at the whitetail properties, guys. So with your talking about the adrenaline rush, the shakes, whatever you want to call it, how does that compare with when you're getting into the ring? Or I'm using the wrong terminology here. When you're going to fight, sorry, go ahead. The cage.
Get the cage.
There we go. When you're getting into the cage versus when you see that big buck that you want to shoot. Is there a difference for you? No, same.
It's all the same. I tell people all the time, like, why do you love shooting a bow more than hunt or shooting a gun? Like, because shooting a bow, hunting with a bow, and martial arts go hand in hand. Because, you can shoot a gun once a year. and you go out in that field. It's pretty. If you got that deer sitting broadside out 300 yards, your gun is sight in, and you know how to shoot a gun, you most likely gonna shoot. But with that bow, that doe can come in, a deer, buck, whatever, come in within 20 yards, and if you ain't been practicing, you'll miss because your anchor ain't the same. You don't have the right technique. Your fatigue is set in when you draw back. You can't hold back long enough if they're not giving you a shot. If a deer coming in close, you got to be drawn before they get in front of you. They're going to see you draw. That's where a gun, I just got to get behind the scope and pull the trigger. The same thing with fighting. If I don't practice, when I go into the fight, if I take a fight without practicing, again, I'm not going to last long because I don't have the condition. I don't have the muscle conditioning to make it more than a round. If I didn't practice the technique, I'm not gonna know what I'm doing. I'm gonna be all over the place. My timing is gonna be off, and this guy who's training is gonna tear me up. The guy I'm going against is that buck. The buck is trying to bust me and not let me get the shot. My opponent is trying to catch me and not let me get my shot on him. He's gonna hit me. He's trying to hit me before I hit him, or defeat me before I can defeat him. That buck, they come in on high alert. They trying to defeat the hunter, come in, feed in the food plot, get the corn, the bait, or get to the doe, whatever they're trying to do without getting shot. And when they know somebody's there, they're going to be smart about it. They're going to be cautious. They're going to do everything they can to figure out how to get downwind, blow, let you know I'm there, and then go somewhere else. Or come in another way and you don't see it. It's the same thing. It all goes the same. Shooting the bow, getting the anchor, nose and string, sew the pin, find that bullseye. Same thing with striking. Hands up, keep my head moving. Find my target, see my target. All right, here it go. Pull the trigger, boom, let it go. So it all goes hand in hand. And the same thing with the nervousness. I'm walking down that walkway to the cage. That's when I'm getting nervous. That's when I'm fumbling. Like sometimes I trip going up to the stage. Sometimes I start slowing, walking real slow because I'm nervous. I don't want to get there. You know, I get there and I'm getting ready to go in. Like, yo, which way do I go? Left or right? I know where I go. I do this all the time. But the time you're so nervous. Same thing when that buck come in. I've been shooting every day of the week, all season. I've been shooting year long. So that deer come in, doe, buck, whatever it is, you think it's gonna be second nature to draw. But it's always like you start thinking about, okay, I gotta get my bow, move slow. Like, all right, so I gotta get my D loop. Oh, come on, hook. Why can't I get it? But when ain't no deer there, I can hook that D loop over, unhook it, hook it, unhook it, hook it, just bored. Not even looking, do it. When that deer come in, I can't find it for nothing. Like, I'm nervous. I draw back, I'm closing the wrong eye. Like, yo, what am I doing? My nose button is down here, not on my nose. It's just because that adrenaline. And then when it's time to sink that shot in, once I got everything set, it's like, all right, it's time to go. Just pull it through. And it happens every time. Been a bullseye all season. Same thing with fighting. Once you get in that cage, you're nervous, you're walking back and forth, they're introducing you, and the ref comes like, are you ready? Are you ready? You hear him drop that pin in the gate, king. And I'll say, hit that switch. Like, all right, it's time to go. The nerves are gone. Now we're just going to do what we've done over and over and over. It's muscle memory. And then when it's all over, said and done, if you win, you got that excitement. You jump up on the cage, you saw it, same thing. You shoot that book, yo, I got him, yeah, I got that, yeah, I got him. If I got the camera, I yell at the cameraman. We dabbing, we high-fiving. In the cage, I'm high-fiving, hugging my coaches. When you lose, you got that same loss defeat. Like, dang, I should have got a loss. And then you miss that deer, it's like, I shot low, or I forgot to move my pin to 30. He was at 30. I was shooting 20 pin, or I didn't have my anchor set or something. It's just the same highs and the same lows. So for me, mixed martial arts and archery hunting go hand in hand.
That's amazing. You know, that's something that a lot of people don't get to hear, you know, from, again, the high level athletes like yourself. And, you know, I've never been at that level, but I do understand, like, whether it be with public speaking, you get those same butterflies right there at the beginning. You start kind of second guessing yourself. Same thing when you're shooting, you know, you shoot every day, you shoot multiple arrows a day. And then all of a sudden you get up in the mountain, or you get in that tree stand, and that deer's right there, or that elk is right there. And you're just like, oh man, you know, you're like, oh, where's the release? Oh man, I can't find this. Oh, I'm supposed to range him, right? You know, you do all this stuff, and it's just, it's so different. And it's good that you train, because then when it does actually kick in, you're ready to go. But there's always those moments where, you know, maybe you could have done something a little bit different. Maybe you could have trained this a little bit different. And that's definitely something that happens whenever you have a miss, you know, out there, or maybe you wound an animal. which is something that a lot of people don't talk about. And it's an unfortunate thing that goes along with any kind of hunting. But bow hunting, there's such a small window of success. You know, you have to hit right in the right spot for it to be a good ethical kill. And so I definitely understand that, man. It's cool to hear though from someone again like you that's such a high athlete or high achieving athlete that you still get those jitters, you still get those butterflies. But like you were saying, you're starting to kind of overcome those with whitetail and you're ready to move on to elk. Have you ever gone out elk hunting?
Nope, I've had what 3 or 4 tags in my life since I've been fighting, but just so happened my fight career, all my fights, they always book most of my fights in a year during hunting season. Like I always get a
Mm-hmm.
call during hunting season, like, yo, why do y'all always do this? Like opening day, I'm always in camp, or when my elk tag is up, or I got a guy that's gonna take me to Montana or a hunt in Utah that I was planning on going to with a group. It's like, oh, right in the middle of fight camp. When I'm in fight camp, I just can't leave. I gotta stay focused, gotta stay locked in.
Yep.
And this tag goes to waste every time.
Man, that's rough. And I mean, I guess, how do you make that decision if you're sitting in there just because you know that right now you need to provide for your family, for your career? Or I mean, what is it that goes through your mind when you've had to give up those tags? Because I'm sure you've had some great tags.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta work. If you don't work, you don't eat. What I'm gonna do? Say, oh, I'm not gonna worry about the fight camp. I'm gonna leave fight camp and go be unprepared for a week and just go hunt. No, well, yeah, it's great therapy. But at the same time, if you want to be the best, you got to focus on your trade. You know what I mean? Like if it's 8 weeks out from the fight, then yeah, that's different. But it just
Mm-hmm.
so happens all mine are like 2, 3 within that 5 week range, 5 weeks to fight. And those are the most important weeks. Those are peak weeks. Those are the ones you're gonna get the most when everything start clicking finally, and you just like on another level. It's like no, I'd rather be more prepared than underprepared. Just like
Yeah.
a mixing oil and gas with a 2-stroke. I would say I'd rather be richer than poor. I'll take it smoking before I seize my motor up. Just put a little more extra. We ain't got no funnel or no measuring cup. Just dump a little more in there. I'd rather be richer than anything. I just deal with the smoke. Let's go. Like, I'll be
Exactly.
richer than poor any day, just like in life.
Exactly. That's awesome. Well, I'm hoping for you that you're able to come up here pretty soon and get you a good elk tag and that you've got a good outfitter or guide service or whoever you're going to end up going with. I wish you the most success in that, especially with the way you dedicate yourself to everything else in your life. We didn't get to touch on necessarily everything in regards to family life and everything, but I will say from what I gather, I know it's only a glimpse of it, but through social media, you're an amazing dad. You're an amazing husband, especially when it comes to teaching how to wash the windows. And
Oh, we got killed on that one. That's what happened when I'm in the house. Like, yeah, I can't turn it off. I just can't be mediocre. Like I saw some streaks. Like, yo, what do you do? Look, you got to get aggressive with it. Like, get some paper, newspapers, not paper towels. Get some newspaper. Yeah, she about killed me off that one. Yeah, go outside. Get out of the house.
Get out of here.
She the one that told me to stay in the house. She's like, stay in the house with us this morning. I'm like, all right, that's what she get. Just let me go do my thing.
That's your mistake.
Yep, not mine. She
No,
won't make that mistake again.
for those that didn't see that, I think it was a story, so it's probably expired. But yeah, he got up and he again just kind of a testament to who you are. You've got to go 100% on everything or even more. Uh, he got up and he was cleaning the windows because he didn't like the streaks that were on the windows, and his wife went and videoed him and posted it up on Instagram. And so he didn't even know that she was taking this video, and it was fun. It was hilarious, man.
It is what it is. That's like when she like sometimes just want to vent. I'm not the person to vent to because I got a solution. I'm not gonna let you just vent. I can't just sit there and like don't vent to me because I'm gonna have a solution. I know you don't want it, but I got a solution. I'm sorry. Like I'm here to make you better. We're gonna be better as a unit. Anybody around me, you're gonna be better, just like me. Like I expect you to do the same thing to me. So
Exactly. Well, that's awesome, man. Well, again, I want to have you on because you're an outstanding individual personally, again, from what I've seen from the interactions that we've had and just in all aspects of your life, you give 100%. And I kind of wanted to get a glimpse for the audience of just how you're such a high achiever outside of the woods, but also in the woods, how you're able to turn those passions into careers and the goals that you have, I just think is outstanding. So again, I appreciate all your time, man. Today, do you have anything that you want to leave with the audience, or the listeners that we haven't brought up?
No, I mean, pretty much brought it up. I mean, anything you want to talk about, I ain't got to go yet, but if you got to go, I understand. People listening, just I ask you guys to tune into the social media and the YouTube if you haven't. As for fighting, you can check me out at Corey_MMA. That's COREYA_MMA. And then the channel I really want to grow is the hunting, Outdoors with Overtime. We got hats, we got shirts, we got hoodies, we got fletchings. I got more stuff coming. Just been super busy. I've been designing things. Got to get it in the works. But you can check out the YouTube channel at YouTube at Outdoors at Overtime, Instagram Outdoors at Overtime, Facebook Outdoors at Overtime, and yeah, I pour most of my free time into that now. You know, just to grow, just to get that head start to when I'm done fighting. Like I said, but we're gonna do when you're done fighting, like just go right into the next one, full speed. Ain't nothing. I'm not sitting on my hands, so. Yeah, just help to continue helping me grow. We're doing a bow giveaway now when we hit 5K subscribers. And then I just got a lot of giveaways in the bag. So as we grow, you guys get to grow with gifts. So yeah,
That's
appreciate
awesome.
all the followers and supporters I've got thus far and look forward to those to come.
Awesome. That's amazing, man. And I guess for the young guys out there listening that maybe are just getting started in any type of career, any type of activity, what would be one takeaway that you would tell them as they're getting started with whether it be a rough patch with hunting, the outdoors, their career, with the family? What would be one thing you'd want to leave with them?
It's the cliche saying they say tough times don't last, but tough people do. You know what I mean? Like I said, I didn't get good till later in my life. You know, a lot of people don't know about me wrestling and whatnot. In high school, I got beat by a girl. I was probably least successful, the one to be least successful to do anything. I was the only one from my high school. Well, not the only one, but one of the few to never make it to the state tournament. But I'm also the only guy from my high school to ever make it to the NCAA finals. So, you know, you look at all that stuff and you look from where I come from, and that's why I laugh and smile through anything. Even through defeat, I can have a smile on my face, because if you knew where I came from, you wouldn't believe where I am today. So just keep working. No matter how hard things get, like I said earlier, you're only defeated when you quit. You just keep getting up and just keep going. Keep getting up and keep working. And one day you'll realize it ain't gonna be that hard. And another one of my sayings, it can only last so long. Just keep going and going. You realize the hard times only last so long. Before you know it, you'll be thriving. And there you go. You'll have that success.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, it's definitely something that a lot of people can learn from. It may be a cliche saying, but it's true, man. And I that's again something else that I really appreciate from you, is that you really do smile through some tough things. I mean, you had a tough loss, but you've also had some super high highs here recently. So you keep trudging through and getting things done the way you are. And I really appreciate everything you put out there, man. And wish you the best of luck with drawing an elk tag, hopefully this upcoming year.
Yeah, hopefully. I gotta get one. I gotta enter a draw, but I definitely want to get one. Hopefully we can line it up where my fight schedule falls before elk hunt. And I can make it out there finally, because I just want to hear elk bugle. Even if I don't even get out there with my bow in hand, I just want to be there with somebody on elk hunt, backpacking, and just hear that bugle through the valleys and the creeks and everything, just make my skin shiver. And I feel like I'll be hooked after that.
Oh, you will, man. You will. YouTube and any videos you watch don't do it justice. When you hear it in real life, you're like, oh man, that's never going back to what it was.
Yeah, my brother-in-law and my father-in-law did it a couple years ago. They said, like I said, they've killed huge whitetails their whole life. And they're like, yo, there's nothing like an elk hunt. I got to get back out there again. I got to figure out my work schedule so I can go back. Like, that was probably the greatest hunt I've ever done. And I want to feel that.
Yep, you're gonna be hooked. You're gonna be out there wrestling the elk. That's what you can jump on their backs.
We're naked choking elks.
Riding them, holding on to the antlers.
Hey,
all right, man. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time again, guys. I'm going to leave the links down below so you can check out Corey, Mr. Overtime, and everything that he's got going in the works, and join him, subscribe to his channels, and keep following him. He's doing amazing things. Again, I appreciate your time, man. And like I always say, guys, get out, live your life, and love it.